So great. So today, welcome John Celino on the Manufacturing Leaders podcast. So John is highly experienced within manufacturing, has worked in a variety of industry across a variety of sectors. I've known him for a long time, mainly due to his reputation, his brilliant reputation in the industry. He's well known. And having started his career back in Nissan at 1987, he's gone to lead teams, improve businesses. So I've recently left a medical manufacturer that Theo James had the pleasure to work with over COVID. He's now looking for his next opportunity. So we thought it'd be a nice chance to jump on here, go back for the journey and have a chat round. So really appreciate you coming on, John. How are you? All good?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Thanks. I'm just chilling at the moment. You can tell I decided not to put the corporate type stuff on.
That's all right.
Got my t-shirt on there, you know, and I thought about even doing this in the garden. I thought it'd be a bit relaxed environment, but you know, probably somebody with a hedge trim will come on and spoil it a wee bit. So I thought just sort of lay back a little bit, but not too much.
100%. Yeah, I'm only wearing a shirt because I've just come from a meeting, but no, it's an open, honest one. This. So I always tend to kick it off with the same question. So. You know, you've been in manufacturing and management for a long time. Yeah. What does it mean to you to be a leader? What do you say?
You know, for me, it's like certainly as we're getting older, it's a bit like using my experience and my knowledge to impart on other people. You know, and be able to be there for people and ask a question. Or give some advice on a certain situation and things like that. And that's what I really enjoy doing. You know, I really enjoy process and people improvement. It's one thing that really sort of gets me out of bed on a daytime. You know what I mean? Other than today. But yeah, no, it's really just being able to, like you say, impart information, knowledge, experience, and see people grow really, and processes and then systems grow, and that's what really leadership means to me. There's lots of other things that you could add on, but you know, in a nutshell, that's what it would be.
Yeah, excellent stuff. So let's take it right back then, and I hope I got my dates right with 1987.
Oh, that's all right. You're right.
I mean, what sort of, I guess, initially brought you into manufacturing? Was it Nissan? Was your first gig? Was that right? Was it?
Yeah, it was, mate. So it's a good question, and really, I realised that when I left school, when I was going through school, I chose a lot of technical subjects because I quite enjoyed them. Okay. So really, the natural route for me was to go into some sort of engineering, but I didn't know what. So I decided that the academic route wasn't probably best suited for me. The way I learn, I'm more of a tactile learner, like learning by doing. So I went out at the marketplace, and I was fortunate enough to get onto the Nissan maintenance technician trainee program, which was successful. So really, I suppose manufacturing chose me rather than me chose it. Was just I wasn't really looking out for manufacturing as such. I just wanted to get into sort of maintenance or an engineering subject.
Yeah,
and get paid for it, obviously.
1987 then. I mean, Nissan. What was Nissan like 87 then? I imagine a very different piece of us today.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So I was saying to somebody the other day, I don't know what the number is now, but my clock number was 1252. Yeah. So shows you how early it was in the day. And when I first started there, the unit shop, the engine shop that I ended up working in, was just a building. You know what I mean? There was nothing in it. You know, sort of packing crates and stuff, and you probably well know that the size of the body shop is now. That used to be at the end of trim and chassis when I first started. You know, just a small block of very there wasn't very much automation in there. It was very lots of people sort of hands on in the body shop, and the body shop now is huge. You know, so it's changed significantly and massively. You know, and it's really good to see that the company, the business leaders are still pushing it, you know, to be in the UK, and they're still winning the new models, and you know, the government's hopefully is going to support that for a long time to come. So it's really great to see, and I'm really pleased that I started my career there, because it gave me a good grounding into manufacturing and the person I am today, really.
The amount of people that have been there for a long time, you test them into a firm like that. I mean, but when you first started, like you say, you were potentially, the first couple of hundred in. Was it? Did it feel like you were part of a big growing beast, or was it not? Did it not feel like that at the time?
No, absolutely. It did feel as though it sort of grew very quickly. In my experience there, the first year we were there, I was there as part of an influx of 30 maintenance technicians, and we went to college for the first 9 months or so. We sort of shipped off to college for full time, and then we ended up getting back to the plant, and you've seen this change within 9 months of the place. There was so much progression within production. Somebody that was on the line was a supervisor and that, and then taken through the ranks very, very quickly. And I remember when I was sort of in my first year, maybe, I remember seeing one of the guys on the line benches that was running the engines up, and he made it all the way through the business. So it shows you that you can get on, and if you apply yourself, and it doesn't matter where you start from, is where you end up, really.
And can you remember, I mean, looking back, can you remember, like you say, you were more practical, so a route like maintenance is an obvious route there. Did you look at people and think, right, okay, this is how I start to build my career? Did you do that because you love fixing machinery, or do you do that because you saw the route and you saw people obviously progress there? Where was the sort of the thing that switched for you?
Yeah, I think the initial bit was I liked to understand how things work.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed root cause analysis, fault finding, all that kind of good stuff. I really, really enjoyed that. And then I think I really got to a point where I'd sort of topped out almost that. And I said, what's my next route for me? And I didn't have an engineering degree at the time. So the route in engineering was, at the time, Nissan, you had to have an engineering degree to get into engineering. So that route was sort of blocked off for me, and the investment for a maintenance technician wasn't there to be progressing into engineering. So really, I sort of thought, well, where do I go next, really? Where do I be the next version of me? So I decided to look into leadership and what that meant, and I enjoyed spending time with people and imparting my knowledge on people from a young age. And when people used to, some of the guys used to work with, some of the technicians used to work with, even the older guys, would say, "How did you do that?" And I used to just go out and write the sequences down to the machines, and I knew what sequence should have been next, and I had it written down in my book, little flow charts and stuff, and I just sort of did some analysis on my own back, and I shared that information with people that were less experienced than I was at that time.
Yeah, nice.
And then that's what sort of drove me to, even before that, at school, being captains of teams and all that kind of good stuff. So leadership really come naturally to me a bit, I think. Even though I've worked at it, but I think that because I want to help people, I think that part of the leadership thing was in me from an early age, I guess.
Where's that come from? Because I think it's interesting. The captain's thing's interesting, isn't it? Because you get people at school who like to be captains. You like people at school who like to be the ones that not necessarily in charge, but the ones helping people, and the ones that to be the leaders, I guess. And you can tell from early age. Was it instilled into you, or was it something that just did come sort of naturally to you?
I can't really remember, to be fair. There wasn't any sort of eureka type moments for me. It's just I was decent at some sports, football and rugby and things like that, and cricket and things. And I was decent, believe it or not. I'm a big lad now. I was good at cross country and middle distance running and stuff. And so people sort of seem to look up to me because of, I wasn't a sort of big-headed kind of guy, but I would help people and would just gravitate to me for whatever reason, and I had a good group of friends.
Because I think sometimes,
possibly. In
that sense, I think if you think about why people, captains and leaders, often they're the people that work the hardest at the early days, and then people see that in them. It's not always about needing to lead and manage, is it? Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a really poor loser, so maybe that's what it was. Is that I was determined to win a lot, and sometimes I didn't. But I was so passionate about everything. I used to be a goalkeeper back in the day, and I was all right, probably a bit too small, but I'll go okay at what I was doing. And, I was quite passionate about not conceding goals and, and encouraging people. And and giving people a rollicking when they needed it and things like that. So it was just a natural sort of thing for me, really.
I think if you look at your career, what's obvious is that you've got a passion for either helping people, helping businesses. You know,
Right.
you only have to look at your CV to see the route you've gone down. Is either managing people or going in directly to improve and look at, like say, root cause analysis and looking where businesses can improve. That's apparent. Right. That must be just a passion that you've had throughout your career and never lost, I guess.
Yeah, it's grown somewhat as well, to be honest, because I've realised, you know, like when you're passionate about something, you realise that you're actually starting to get good at this thing. Or better than other people around you, and then you become sort of like the go-to person, really. So I've really been passionate about these things that are important to me, really, in life. You know, being able to grow as a person. I've got a family, and you know, we share things together and things like that. And I just think that you know, I've transformed me as a person, really. So I think about transformational type of stuff. When I did my master's degree when I was at Rio Tinto, you know, one of the things that we talk about, I wanted to do something for my dissertation that was real, not just do one of these project things that sort of sits on the shelf and never to be opened again. So I decided to look at developing maintenance strategies or asset management strategies for aging plant and stuff, and how would we do that, and what the challenges would be. So look at the tools and techniques around that, but also look at the tools and techniques around change management, about how you implement these kind of changes. And really, it's about changing behavior and all that kind of good stuff. You know what I mean? You can put as many tools in as possible, but they're only as good as the worst person that uses them. So, you know, I really thought about and did a lot of reading up and research on how to make sure you manage the change effectively. So,
yeah, excellent stuff. You mentioned Rio Tinto, and I think there's certain companies in the Northeast who have a reputation where they have just a culture, and it's almost like people are so proud to work there, and they never lose that sort of camaraderie when they leave. And
right.
That was one of those places, wasn't it? That
it was.
It's and I know, you know, from working with, you know, having worked with people and recruited them in different positions who have come from that background, you know, they all speak so highly of it, and they were there for so many years. No, not this like Nissan, I guess. So I mean, was that part of the having come 12 years in Nissan and then working for Rio Tinto? Did it come quite natural to you, I guess, to be almost part of a new culture again for you?
Yeah, I suppose it did, actually. I mean, you know, I spent a bit of time in the chemical industry, went back to automotive, and then I eventually ended up at Alcan, or Rio Tinto Alcans, it turned out to be. And, you know, I felt that from walking through the door, you know, that togetherness, that want to improve, you know, that from an individual and a team perspective and a business perspective, you sort of, I really did feel that when I walked through the door. My manager was and is still an excellent person. You know, he works up Lax and Bell now. Nice. And he's got a lot of ex-Rio Tinto people working for him because of that camaraderie, because of that culture, you know.
Yeah, it is. And I think one thing I've seen post-COVID is I think culture is important, but I think people understand how important it is now. Do you know what I mean? I think people are looking at that for the next role, and how culture is now, without doubt, the reason people stay. And I think, you know, that because it's rare you see people now who've been there for 12, 15 years. Like, it used to be a thing, didn't it? People stayed there for almost, it was a job for life. And I'm sure people would be Alcantara if there's still the possibility. So it's unfortunately that is a rarity now. So it doesn't surprise me that they've gone on to all work together, I guess, in a similar plant, without doubt.
Yeah, and it was, you know, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be brought up in this stand, so to speak, and, you know, and had the modern manufacturing techniques behind me and things like that. And when he went to Alcano 2006, before it got took out over or bought out by Rio Tinto, you know, they wanted to, there's key people that just wanted to know, how do you do this? Can you implement lean? Can you do this in a smelter? I say, of course you can. You can do it any way you want. And they were like, all right. And then Rio Tinto come up with their own version of lean, and they deployed it from about 2008, 2009, you know. So it was great to see that the investment that they were putting in, and there was the vast majority of people were very engaged in the process. They wanted to do it. You know, they seen it as a personal progression for them as individuals, and certainly for the company, you know.
Do you, on the flip side of that, because obviously what you've done there and other companies is gone in and implemented change, which
Yes.
is brilliant for the companies and it's brilliant for the owners, and they'll see the benefits. But it's still change for people, isn't it? And
Right.
do you know what I mean? That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Have you been in situations where you've come up against some resistance there? And I guess how, if you have, how have you had to deal with that, I guess, and manage that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, most places I've been, you have some resistance to change at different levels, really. Some places you go and it's like so staunch and things like that. And I truly believe that people do change, and when I talk to people about change, I always pick up a mobile phone and say, "Have you still got the mobile phone you had 10 years ago?" And they say no. I say, "Well, you're not
Yeah,
resistant to change, then, are you?" And
yeah,
but some people can't. Don't They're afraid of change, or they don't know what's going to look like and going to feel like, what the future's going to look like and feel like. So they're really scared of it and they don't really want to admit that.
Mhm.
And my normal approach is, if you speak to other people that I've dealt with and spoken to, I liken it like I always say to somebody, if I was taking you through some change, Mark, and he says, "John, I'm really nervous about this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what it's going to feel like." And I say, "Well, we're going to drive. It's going to be foggy for you."
Yeah,
I talk about fog a lot, right?
yeah,
So it's going to be really foggy for you, and you're going to have to trust me. You're going to sit in the car and you're going to drive the car, and I'm going to tell you to go as fast as you can.
yeah.
But there's nothing in front of you. There's nothing to worry about. And to prove that, I'm going to sit in the passenger seat right next to you. And people think I'm crazy when I talk about this, but I'm really passionate about it.
I
And I'll
like it.
say, in fact, I'll tell you what, I'll go even one further. Be my car you're driving.
Yeah,
So I'm going to give you my car to drive. I'm going to sit next to you. So that's going to prove to you that nothing's going to happen to you. It's all going to be fine. I can see the pathway. You just can't see the pathway at the moment. And
yeah.
as we go through the change, you'll be able to see it clearer and clearer. And then you'll be able to see where we're going. So, and that's how I sort of envisage
I
the
guess, isn't it?
change for
Yeah,
people, and really, the sort of denial acceptance sort of curve, and you got to, when you think about change, for me, you've got to really think about that before you start. I think some people are going to go through that cycle really quickly. Some are going to struggle a bit, and not be able to see what the change is going to look like or how it impacts them.
yeah,
So you got to really sell it to them. One of the guys that I work with at Rio Tinto, a really good guy, he said you got to tune them into WYFM. What's in it for me? And I
yeah,
thought that's really quite cool. That is, and you got to really, as an individual, almost sell it to them and say, look, this is what it's going to feel like, it's going to look like. We're not, working harder, not, working smarter, not harder, and all that kind of buzzwords and things. And I think the majority of people that we've went from the Rio Tinto days and beyond, I think the vast majority of people probably enjoyed the change when they look back. It's just that not knowing the experience, that new experience, the butterflies and all the rest of it is part and part of the change, really.
like you say, it's communication, isn't it? And
Yeah,
I think, like you say, if you communicate what the value is for them
right.
and they see it, without that, it's just and imagine, like, until people see value, they just think potentially it's a fluffy change, that it's someone trying to tick a box, which could be further than the truth. But
Exactly.
I also imagine the satisfaction you get when you see someone go for that curve and come out the other side,
Right.
and they're being part of it, I guess, because I guess it's
Yeah.
not just you come and change something; it is changing a
Right.
mindset. They change it together with you. That must be satisfying.
Yeah, it really is, and it's like any change. Like, I used to coach football, I used to teach karate,
Mhm.
and it's the same thing. You see people that are exploring themselves and doing things for a certain reason. And it's the same with work, really. When you've got people that you see their progression, and some people progress at different times. Some will take a punt. These people at the front of the boat will be paddling like mad and just want to take everything in. People that the sort of resistors, if you like, they'll be trying to put some paddles in because they're not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not communicated effectively, as you said before. So there's a lot of things around change. One of my things that I did for my dissertation, I read a lot on John P. Cotter. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a bit of a change guru around the world. He's quite well known, and he talks about 8 steps of change, and he talks about communication a lot. Is that one of the key steps is about communicating the change to people? And he says that if you think you communicate enough, multiply by 10, and you'll be getting somewhere near there. So people fall foul of not being able to communicate the change regularly enough and effectively enough.
Yeah, like that. Excellent stuff. And I mean, you mentioned, you briefly mentioned people there. I mean, who do you think's been had the biggest impact or been the biggest inspiration for you, I guess, throughout your career, would you say? And this, could we go out of work, in work?
I've had absolutely loads, different things that inspire me, or people inspire me every day, and I just get little things. When I was coaching football, you see somebody do something, or having a behavior about them, I think, that's cool. I'm gonna, even somebody that's much younger than me, that's a cool trait to have. I'm gonna try to have that trait, and I'm gonna try to build that in me as a person. But yeah, from inspirational type of people, you got your heroes, I suppose. From a young boy, showing my age now, my hero is Glenn Hoddle. I thought he was the best player on the planet and stuff.
Yeah.
And he inspired me as a person I've never met before.
Yeah.
John P. Cotter, as I said, we spent a lot of time researching him. Never met the guy, and watched a lot of his stuff, and he inspired me for change management. I think one of the, I've worked with lots of good people. I think one person that set me off on my journey is the operations director at Rio Tinto. We did a mentoring program, so I was both a mentee and a mentor. He chose me as his mentee, I suppose, or maybe he's got the short straw, whatever. And he sort of encouraged me to invest in me. So I spent a lot of time investing time in people, but not really a lot of time investing in me. So he suggested I went to think about going doing a master's degree in engineering, which I did, and I was successful in it, and to become and work towards a chartered engineering ship. So he sort of he was a big influence in my decision to look for more professional gongs, if you like, because I didn't push myself hard enough along them routes. I was sort of helping other people sort of come up and do that kind of thing around me, but not really look in the mirror and say, what does JC need, and that's one of the most influential things in my career that's ever happened for me.
And I think still not enough companies see the value in that, because it's such a long-term view, isn't it? To say, right, we need to put some for our masters. This it's an investment, essentially.
Absolutely.
And that, for a lot of companies, probably feels like a bit of a luxury to go, this is going to cost us X amount. It's going to be a long time till we get our money back. Right or wrongly, that's how they will think.
It's true.
Do you think ultimately that you've given back? Would you say, because the value? Would you recommend employees go, okay, put them through this because X, Y, and Z and the benefits you got from it?
Yeah, I really do think that some people think that they can't do what they think it's, and I keep saying, look, it's a lot of hard work. Yeah. I'm not the most educated guy on the planet, you know what I mean? Or I've got some things that I am decent at, but it's just a lot of hard work, and if you apply yourself properly, you can achieve big things. I'm not one of the people that can sit down and read a book and go, yeah, I've got all that, and just go and fill out some assessment and something like that and pass it with 100%. I've got to work a little bit harder than that. But I encourage people to follow their dreams. The guys I work with in the last place, we talk about program management, project management stuff for them guys to get into that kind of mode because of something that the gap that they had that would take them on in the future, depending on what their personal roadmap look like.
Brilliant. Excellent. And what I really like about that as well is, it's something I've probably found over not that many years, sort of maybe 8-9 years of management, is I think you underestimate how much personal development you need to do. I think sometimes you think, right, I'm a manager by title now, so I'm a manager. I just need to manage people. And I think I don't think there's any harder job than managing people. I don't think it's a privileged job, and it's such a rewarding position. But like you say, it's continual progression that you must do to continue inspiring people.
Right.
And I think that for me, it goes beyond academic, doesn't it? It's making sure your mental health is right. It's making sure it's all about mindset for me, because I just think it's very, very difficult sometimes. We all have bad days, but it's almost like as manager, you have to pretend you're not having bad days because you're the one you've got to get people out of their bad days. So it's difficult.
Right, yeah. It is. And sometimes you've got to have this mask, I suppose.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
You've got to show this different level of yourself, And sometimes I let that slip at work, and I show people the real me, what I'm feeling a little bit, and then I put the mask back on, say, look,
Yeah.
we're all just normal people. The reason why I put my t-shirt on today, to show that people you're just a normal person. You deal with the same stuff outside of work, as everybody else does. It's just
completely agree.
a different job.
You learn that you can make mistakes and hold your hands up.
Right.
So I think there's nothing worse than making a mistake, pretend it's not a mistake, and carrying through. And that's
oh yeah, just try to hide it, or not hide it, but pretend to stick your head in the sand. It didn't happen. Yeah. And so much looking in the mirror is something that makes a good leader, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And you come across that. It's obviously you're an incredibly self-aware person, and in terms
right.
of, do you know what I mean? That's so obvious, that which is a really good trait to have, because a lot of people don't let themselves be very aware of who they are, and hence your answer to the question, who inspired you, the fact that people around you still inspire you now. Because I think sometimes people think, there's 2 or 3 people inspire me, but that's it, and they're a closed book and they don't see what's around you. But you're absolutely bang on. You can work with an apprentice now, and they can come through with such a good attitude, and you go, gosh, I love the way they. Do you know what I mean? That's
absolutely
down to your day.
Yeah, so, definitely.
It's a big part of it. Do you think? Obviously, you see some people that have worked in automotive for 30 years, food for 30 years. You see people who have worked in maybe 2 different sectors within manufacturing. You've never been scared to go from automotive to chemical, heavy industry, medical, so many different sectors. What benefit do you think that's had on your career, would you say?
It's had a massive benefit, really, if I'm honest, I think, anyway, because it's created opportunities for communication with other people, and people say, do you really think this is transferable? Absolutely. Yeah. And I've proven it. The tools that you take and you develop in yourself can be taken through many sectors. I would challenge almost every one of them. Yeah. You could take the way you work and how you are as a person, your personal beliefs and your own identity and cultural identity, and how you are, your DNA, how you are as a person and as a work colleague and father, son, husband, all these kind of things, is that you can take all these kind of things into anywhere you go. I've never been into banking, but I'd probably go into banking and take some of the tools into banking. You know what I mean? It's just it's not a physical manufacturing process, but it's still a process. At the end of the day, there's still some digital transactions that happen every second of every day. So why can't you improve that?
And I think, we talk about skill sets, skill shortages in manufacturing and lack of people. I think that's something that we need to be open to within manufacturing, people from different industries, without doubt. Because, there's the likes of, it's brilliant news to the Northeast, the likes of British Volts and companies that come in, 3,000 jobs, where are they going to find them from? The minute they're only going to take from other manufacturers. So I think we need to have a real open mind about that type of thing, because exactly that, it is a process. I appreciate the technical engineering level that needs to be taught. There's that, but again, that can be taught from people coming out the forces and other transfer industries. I completely resonate with that. So yeah, definitely. So can you pinpoint, because obviously you've managed in different levels and different stages. Was there ever a time where you thought, now I'm managing, this is a team? Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes,
you know what it is, I'm pretty hard on myself, and I'm my own worst critic, and I never think I'm ever there,
Yeah.
And there was a time, and I'll go back to my coaching football days, and my oldest son, he's 23 now, and he was playing football, and I decided to get in. I can't do things by half, so I decided to get in, rather than watching, I helped out and coached and things like that. And they were getting beat most weeks and almost every week, and then of it, we got better, and some of the players sort of just improved so fast. We end up sort of winning games, and then we end up winning the league and winning the cup and all that kind of thing. And that was probably the one where you think, we're not brilliant, but we can hold our own and things like that, and if you take that into business, really, we were talking about mentoring before, and it's one of the guys that I was coaching at Rio Tinto, and he works at AkzoNobel now, and he's got a senior engineering job there, and he's doing really, really well. I had the opportunity of doing some work with him for a couple of weeks a few years ago, and it was really great to see, some of the stuff that we talk about, and we we deployed at Rio Tinto, he took those on and took them in Accident Bell and made it part of the European sort of standard. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, that is impressive. You know what I mean? He's just so bought into the reliability world and things like that. You know, and he really believed in it. And we took him on a journey, and he's doing it himself. You know, and it's really great to see.
Yeah, love that. Excellent stuff. You mentioned and I resonate with this. Your own biggest critic, and that gets back to the awareness side. Is that because you feel like you're still always on a journey to keep progressing yourself and keep getting better? I mean, is that think that where it comes from? Almost that drive in you that you never made it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think I don't know where that sort of come from. Where it started from really is that I always thought that change would always be continual, and I believe in continuous improvement from my Nissan days and stuff. But I think I really sort of come to light really when I was teaching karate and all that kind of stuff, and going through my karate phase, if you like.
Yeah.
And it was really sort of an epiphany really when people are talking about getting your first dan and stuff like that, and going for talks with these guys that were 6th and 7th dan, and they were just trying to explain that the difference between the journey in karate is about experience and just getting time under your belt basically, and they explain the difference between a white belt and a black belt is that the karate guy used to just use a belt to wipe his hands on, and that's why the white belt got dirty and it ended up being black. But that just take time, right? The amount of time that you have to wear it and do that. It turned the belt black, and they were just basically dirty belts. They weren't actually black belts. And I was just like, yeah, wow, that could actually take a long time when you start to sort of, and then you start thinking about, if you get your first dan, it's only the tip of the mountain. If you've ever been mountain climbing or going up, maybe over the lake somewhere, and you think, oh, well, I'm at the top, and then you get to the top and you see another peak. That's it, and that's how I see personal development. You see, right? I'm never there. I'm always working to the next summit. Maybe I don't know, a long distance runner sees a race, you know what I mean, and they just probably break it down into small chunks.
The flip side of that, are you at a stage where you can go the other side of it, where you can be proud of yourself and go, you know what, I've done that? Do you know what I mean? Like, because I think it is the best way to be so self-aware and always want to progress, but it can come at a cost, sometimes, doesn't it? Where you can almost, you're never satisfied with what you do, and you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, is that? Do you resonate with that? Is it, or do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. There is a flip side to it, or a sort of a downside to it. So, I've been around engineering, manufacturing, and reliability world a long time now, and transformational type of stuff. So at some point, that becomes a time where I call it, I always tell people, I'm going to keep a hold of your bike seat. I'll not see it. You'll not fall off. Yeah. I suppose I like things with wheels on, I guess, with cars and, bikes now. Yeah. But I say, I'll not let you fall off. And when you're ready, I'm going to let go of your bike seat. But only when you're ready, and they can, that adage about teaching people how to fish or giving them fish or fish for themselves, Yeah. And at some point, they're going to be fishing for themselves. And it's sort of job done for me, right? What's next for JC type of thing,
Yeah.
But even if that bit of work is repetitive, going into a different business or different part of the business and doing something similar, and you're taking people through the change, the journey again, that doesn't bore me. To do something repetitive, so this is another 18-month program, for example.
Yeah.
And that doesn't bore me because I've got able to impart stuff on new people, new people that have the ability to improve,
I'd love to, if you could think of an example, I'd love to dig around, because I'm really interested in continuous improvement, and I think it's a massive part of manufacturing. I'm sure people listening would love to dig around. So, I mean, can you pinpoint something that you've got into a business and you've changed, and there's been some substantial benefit from it? Some quantifiable evidence, we say, or something you're proud of, I guess, which you've gone in and changed. Put you on the spot here.
Oh yeah, probably quite a few things really. I've done a lot of root cause analysis stuff in the past, from a reliability world, and really the guy I was talking about that works at Accident Bell now, that's doing a cracking job in the world of asset management reliability. When I first started, we did some work around. We had some challenges around the assets that weren't performing very well, and we did some work around a few of the different things, and we sort of opened the door to his mind to you know, he was bought and bred up at Alcan. You know, his apprenticeship there, and he come from, and he got through the ranks and become an engineer, and that's all he knew. So I showed him there's a few different ways of, you know, and we did some really good work around doing some root cause analysis stuff and understanding what's gone wrong. And you know, that was really a big change in our mindset, a change of mindset. And it took a little bit of time to change the concept of that. So one of the things we talk about at that time was, I always challenged him. He said, "Oh, I get called out on a weekend." I says, "Well, why don't we try to understand what is the causes of getting called out on the weekend and put them to bed during the week, so you don't have to be called out on the weekend and spend time with your family." And the business changed, you know, they got paid overtime and different things, and they sort of bought the package off them, and then so that sort of really triggered the mindset. Say, "Oh, actually, John's, you know, maybe it's true what he's saying, is that if he can get this money but not have to be at work for the extra time, and he's doing half his job right, you know." So that was one of the changes I quite enjoyed from a personal point of view. And lots of the other stuff that I doing some work at Conoco, Phillip and Savick for the sort of same thing. They didn't really have a certainly at Conoco Phillips, they didn't really have a root cause analysis process, really, not really. So I went in and defined what that would look like, sort of like what they call defect elimination at the smelter. They call it defect elimination there as well. Yeah. So we deployed sort of a defect elimination program and did some proper root cause stuff and taught them about how to understand symptoms in true root cause and things like that. So, and we got to the bottom of some good issues there, and they probably would have missed them without the guiding from myself, really. And I find it hard to give myself a little bit of credit, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, but, I can see you fighting against it.
Yeah, sort of step away from it a wee bit. But yeah, that's really proud of them kind of things, you know. So taking people through, because it's good for the business, you know. If you really look after your assets, they look after you. Yeah. And you know, if people can understand why things fail or why things can fail, and we can mitigate that issue, then we'll win, you know. And them kind of things really. I know it's probably a bit of a woolly answer to your question, but I like it, no. There's just so many things that make you think, yeah, that was really cool. Yeah. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, just in my last position there, you know, we spent some time with the maintenance team trying to put a bit of a simple maintenance system in, you know, and just before I left, the guys were saying, I just hope that they're going to keep this going and things like that, you know. So they really bought into it, you know. Yeah. Got the guys engaged and things, yeah, because it's number one priority, sustainable change. You got to engage the people.
Yeah, and you're right. That's the challenge of business, isn't it? To have someone, when someone, you know, leaves a position who's implemented it, it's legacy, isn't it? Then to make sure that it remains.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, you know, if you sort of rephrase the question a wee bit, is that when I talk about the guy, Peter, he's called it. Exodovel, hopefully he doesn't mind us naming him, but really good lad, really good engineer, very passionate. And seeing him carry on the work that we did at Rio Tinto into a different workplace, and shows you that again, you know, AkzoNobel do paint, you know, the smelter aluminium, and two totally different sectors, but same rules apply. And he's just taking it in, he's quite steadfast in his implementation of these things. And my understanding is that they're taking into a sort of a European or corporate type of level of the standards that he wanted to deploy at Ashington site, you know. So things like that show that, yeah, it makes me feel good that they just haven't scribbled on a piece of paper and thrown in the bin, you know. Yeah. And that I've been on some contracts, and you go into a place and you'll see 5 different levels of deployment, you know what I mean? You see remnants of stuff, and they just haven't been. Sustainability for me needs to be thought out at the start. How are these things going to be sustained? Yeah. You know, you get people try to do 5S to the same level as an operating theatre, and you think it's just no way. There's not value add to go at that level. Yeah. You need to be reasonable, you know, be smart and be reasonable in what you want to achieve. You know.
And you mentioned your last role, and obviously it'd be interesting to talk, if you don't mind, about that. It's just obviously completely different times. Something like COVID,
Right.
working for a medical manufacturer where, I imagine because of the situation, priorities probably need to be very different. Priorities was probably much more on orders at the
Right.
door, and potentially haven't got the luxury is maybe the wrong word for look at root cause analysis, but there's probably an element of that. I mean, how was that suddenly getting thrown into that world? I guess, which was obviously a real challenge for anyone.
Yeah, I think what we really looked at really is those three of us went in at the same time to help the business out, because of the ramp up was just immense. As you know, you put a lot of people into the place through Theo James, and a lot of good people actually, and it was needed for us to put some structure, a little bit of structure in there. So things were deployed like the hourly count that you would normally deploy in the manufacturing floor, some quite simple. Visual management, stand-up meetings, these kind of simple shop floor tools that got people thinking about what is that we're doing today, what things went wrong yesterday, where we are against plan, and so on and so forth. So we spent some time to do some root cause analysis, and it wasn't just me, it was other guys as well, but it was just to try to create a structure behind what they were doing, because it was really, really fast-paced change. We didn't have the time to sit down and talk about this change model and do all this background work. It just as you say, it wasn't there. The time wasn't there to do that.
Yeah.
But we invested some time to just put some basic things in place that made sense at that time.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess credit to a business to make sure that they're still looking at things like that, because they won awards for everything, which is brilliant and quite rightly so. It must be very, very difficult to try and balance everything out. To try and firefight, I guess, whilst obviously making sure they're more efficient. So, but complete different challenge for someone like yourself to come in and try and do, I guess. So it's just another string of the bow, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were there to support the management team, and it ended up being part of the management team, directly. So yeah, it was interesting part. We sort of changed hats a little bit, so to speak. So I was a consultant, went in, and we talked about a few things, and eventually, after 5 months or something, do you want to come in full time? And I went in full time, and so I suppose the hat I had sort of spun around 360 off 180 maybe. And what I didn't change, I don't think I changed anyways, is the ethic around these are things that are here to stay. They're not just a consultancy tool. They are good manufacturing behaviors, and we need to continue them. So in my time there, I still pushed for to make sure these things were deployed, I suppose, and maintained really. There's one of the guys that I started with is still there. He's going to come to the end of his tenure soon, pretty soon. But yeah, just hopefully that the company will continue the good things that we started.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Perfect. Well, I have some sort of closing, if you like, quite a few closing sort of questions.
Yeah,
I tend to ask people. So what's the tough question is, but what are the three things that spring to mind, I guess, for you that make a good leader? What do you say?
I think you mentioned it a bit earlier on. One of the key things for me is being self-aware. I think a difference there's some really significantly key differences between being a manager and a leader, in my opinion. Sometimes you take a manager out of the business doesn't know where to go. Yeah. With a leader, you can take a leader out of the business and go on holiday for 2 weeks, and the business still ticking away nicely for 2 weeks after they leave. And that that's one of the measures for me anyway, if the difference. So being self-aware really is one of the things for me, is that being able to understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, where you would like to be and where you like to go, and what inspires you, and what the next steps are. What is it for me, and be that self-aware person that you can be humble and honest with people around you, and say, look, I'm not the perfect guy, I'm trying to be, but I've got some gaps in the armor, and be sort of humble and honest about it, and I think that's really, if you're being honest with the people around you and people can see that, and you're sincere about it, and you walk. The next one is walking the talk, I suppose. So, yeah, you're talking about all these kind of things changing, and creating behaviours and things, but you've got to do it yourself. You've got to be seen to be doing it. You know, as you said before, as a manager, sometimes you've got to put that shield on and look and look invincible. But sometimes you're in bits inside and you're angry and all the other emotions that go on inside, and you've got to try to keep those under wraps. So walking the talk would be another one for me.
Yeah.
The third one, you know, there's loads of them, but the third one would be to engage and empower people. Really, is an important thing about being a leader. Is have that ability to say, yeah, I'm going to let you give this a go. I'm going to give you some information. I'm going to give you some guidelines to work within, but I'm going to let you do it. I'm going to, you know, and do that, and then people can learn from it, you know, and we'll make a couple of mistakes and not being afraid to fail. As long as the consequence of failure isn't really catastrophic, but you know, being able to allow people to dip their toes in the water and see what it feels like to do certain things for themselves. And I think, you know, those kind of three things are really as important as a leader as opposed to being a manager, you know. And I think if you work on those kind of things, and you are self-aware and you do walk the talk and you do want to give people empowerment and for growth for them, then you'll be halfway being a good leader, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that. It's trust, isn't it? Because I think,
yeah,
you know, from being managed, I guess, you know, that if you don't feel like your opinion's trusted or you're even trusted to have a level of autonomy, I just think your motivation just lacks, isn't it? So it has to come a time where you've got to go, right. It's the fish thing, isn't it? It has to come a time you go, right, okay, I've taught you what you need to know now. You just need to make mistakes and learn from them. But it's that can be scary, can't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose depending on what kind of person you're like, is that if you're being brought up with a manager rather than a leader around you, that you know you're closed into a little box, and when you get let out of the box, you still stay within that footprint of the box because you just don't know what to do. You know, you've been spoon fed a lot rather than saying, you know, come up with innovation, let's do something different. You know, that kind of thing for me. The flip side of that is really when you work with a leader and you've got all this freedom a little bit, you know, with some boundaries. But then you want to put you back in this little box. You go, whoa, I'm going to maybe become a bit claustrophobic, and that's something I prefer not to be, you know. But I understand that some things need to happen that way when you're in the stuck a little bit, you know. Sometimes the things need to be done quickly and, you know, and make sure they're done robustly.
100%. And so this one, I think I can guess your answer to this, but what's more important to you, would you say, an academic route or on the job learning into management?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my sort of background and stuff, I suppose it depends really. I suppose I answered a little bit earlier on, is that my style of learning is by doing, you know, sitting in lectures and stuff like that isn't, you know, it just sort of switches off a little bit sometimes, you know, after time, I suppose, you know, you get interested after a time, but when you're active, when, you know, one of the best people I've ever seen doing some training, it put one slide in a whole full day's training session. Really? And he just made it so fun and interactive. It was really, really awesome. So that's the kind of thing So my preferred route is going down the sort of the trained exploratory route, if you like, you know, sort of hands-on doing the do. But there is some need for academics, you know what I mean? Of course there is, you know. Some of these people are so bright, and you know, they're creating all these apps and these things in the world that's helping us be, you know, our lives every day being better, you know. Something like that wouldn't, some of the stuff like that just isn't in my wheelhouse, you know. It doesn't, that I think, wow, that's amazing, but I like doing what I do, if that makes sense.
I think your journey, in my opinion, is the perfect journey to go on. I think if I look at, you know, the way that people who are hiring like see people, because you've learned right from the bottom from apprentice to where you are now, but you've also then done the academic to bounce out and back it up.
Right.
It is very tricky, I think, but to get respect from people if they think you've not done what I've done, you know, you've not been an apprentice, you've not been on the shop floor, you've come straight from university into you're a manager. So I think to bypass that and gain the respect versus then having a master's or some academic, that's probably perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly for me, buddy. Yeah, I just spent a little bit of time talking to one of the guys in last place, and he did the academic route, and he thinks he missed out on something, missed out on the camaraderie, how to work as a team and all that kind of stuff. So you don't get told that at university, or you spend however long, 4 to 5 years, and doing your A levels, and you're going on to degrees and stuff, and you come out with it, and the only interaction you've had with people is in an academic environment, And he says he thinks he's really missed out, and we're talking about doing apprenticeships and things like that, And he says, I really feel as though I've missed out. If he said that he said that if you could change it, if he went back, he would change the route he took.
Nice. Well, that kind of leads me on to my next question. So, if you could go back to your first day of managing someone, I guess your first day of being a manager, what advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now, which is a lot?
That's a really, really, really good question. If you asked me to go back many moons ago, or if I was made today, all the resources that we have, one of the things I would say is use the resources around you. There's so much out there, like you guys and things like that. There's so many. When I first started off in my career, the internet didn't even exist. You know what I mean? Didn't have mobile phones and stuff like that. It was books, and go and fetch them. You know what I mean? And it was a lot more taxing and difficult to go and get information, go and get support for certain things. And there's so many tools out there now, and that's what I would. That's what probably I would tell a new me, if you like, starting out on my managing career, if you like, is use the people around you, use your network. Networking is one of the number one things that people sometimes underestimate a little bit. But I use my network quite a lot, and I'm needing something, and I've got a good rapport with people, and some people do respond when I ask for stuff and things like that, and so that is one of the number one things for me.
You're right with networking. It's massively underestimated, because you quickly realize that people are going to have the same issues, the same problems that you do, and to work for them together, even direct competition, you can there's enough room for you both in the same market. And I just think that's what I love about manufacturing as well. I mean, I've literally just come back from a manufacturing networking event there from Komatsu, and just people sharing the same problems and just improving the sector, basically. So it's great.
You're right, but I think one of the things that from a Northeast point of view, I'm a Northeast lad, and I'm quite a biased Northeast lad. So I'd love to see the companies investing in the Northeast and be a hotbed of manufacturing that has been for 100 years or whatever it is or more.
I think, and I think it went, probably. It was always a bit of a worrying period, wasn't it, over COVID, where I don't think hopefully would never happen, but they would talk about, Nissan was threatening, and you thought, what, if that happened, there could be a bit of a knock-on effect in the Northeast, but the opposite happened, British faults, and then it just feels like now, like you say, it's the powerhouse of a region again, and I really think it would be, it already is, but I think it could be the best region for manufacturing in the UK.
Absolutely. We've got some great talent here as well, we really do, and you see some people around, they're just, and I don't mean to sound this derogatory, but sometimes you just don't know what they don't know. And if you show them what they don't know, they go, "Oh, right, yeah." And they're just they want to absorb information. Some they don't, not even young people. Some of the older guys still want to be a better version of themselves. You know what I mean? And there's so many people like that out in the Northeast.
Perfect.
It gets stereotyped with the old school stuff with mining and all that kind of stuff, but it's totally different than that, really.
The skill set's unbelievable. You've only got to walk down any factory. I mean, like I say, I've even been at Komatsu today, which probably you'd probably think is a really old school, but no, I mean, unbelievable technology, with robotics and the type of automation you have. It's just like, and it's a massive eye opening. Which leads me on to my last question. Perfectly, I would say, how do you think we can improve the future of just manufacturing in the UK? Would you say, as a whole, do you think? Because it's got its challenges, without doubt.
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the things really is the business leaders and the government really have got to really get together and sort out how to get more investment in the UK from a manufacturing capacity. For manufacturing anything, could be anything, but they really need to get, the French do it a lot, the French government do a lot with businesses and stuff, and I'm not knowledgeable enough to see how that could work, but certainly that's my opinion that there's a lot more work to be done with industry, with the government, with local government as well. You know, all these things just to encourage them continued investment. Once we do that, we need to create, you know, a quality product at a good price and all that kind of good stuff. And that's got to start with having some really frank discussions with the powers that be in the government to make sure that the manufacturing is on the table all the time, because if not, you know, other places do it cheaper than we do.
Exactly that. No, I completely agree. And just finally, John, you know, about yourself, you know, next
Right.
steps now then, what, obviously, you know, a lot of very good businesses there. We're extremely lucky to have someone like yourself. You know, what are your thoughts? What's exciting you now in terms of the type of next position? Because you've done so much in your career, haven't you? I know you don't like to blow your own trumpet, but you know, the stuff that you've implemented in some of the best businesses in the Northeast speaks for itself. And what's exciting you now in terms of the type of opportunities that you're looking at, would you say, type businesses?
Yeah, I think thanks for that, by the way. You don't have to say the things like that, but it's nice. It is nice to hear, though. It is nice, and sometimes, you know, reflections is important. You know, you talk about Komatsu there, and sometimes to realize you're on a journey, you got to just look backwards a little bit and think, bloody hell, look what we've done. Yeah. You know, but look, we've still got some way to go here. You know, we're not finished yet, yeah. And I feel like that with me. So when I look back, and I think some of the stuff I'm really proud of, some of the things that hurt, that didn't go so well, I've learned from, you know, and I can take those on and share them experiences with other people, and hopefully they can learn from those experiences of mine, or the poor experiences of mine, if you like. I think, yeah, it's not a really good place to be, or not a really good feeling. You know, that feeling as a manager inside, and you think, oh, you're a bit churned up, or you hide it a bit, and I think for me, really, for my futures, you know, it's to be fair, Mark, it's really open in my head. Is that, you know, I could go into a business as a permanent position, with ideally going to a permanent position that's got some growth for me and for the business. You know, yeah. Something that we can really get our teeth into and drive forward. But to be fair, that could be on a permanent or a contract or an interim or a fixed term, whatever. You know, them kind of things is you said, really gets me going. You know, them kind of things that I can impart my experience and knowledge on. So my next role could be almost anything. You know, if somebody comes up and says, "Oh, JC, what do you think about this?" And I'll say, "Yeah, you know, if it pays the bills, you know, that's got to be the first thing. First thing is pay the bill." I put something on LinkedIn the other day, just talking to some people about what I've got the thing. I've got the 3 things that what's important to people. And one of them is about package. The second one is about job satisfaction. The third one's about location. I was dead interested because location is a third of those 3 things for me. Mm-hmm. So if you can pay your bills and all that kind of stuff, and you can put that behind you, think, I don't have to worry about that anymore. That's done. Now, job satisfaction. What's in it for me? What am I going to get out of this? What can I do for this job and for this business? And then location is way down the line compared to them too. You know, I was just really interested to find out what that was, and nobody actually put location. There wasn't very many people in the pool, to be fair, but you know, it was interesting to find out what people felt, and it's the same how I feel. I think you know, making sure my family's secure, and then making sure that something's in it for me. You know, something I can get my teeth into is really going to be key for me for my next role.
I love that. It doesn't surprise me, the location things. I think people have mentality has changed. I think they want more from their companies now, which actually has almost led to, you know, many reasons why we're in this storm we're in with shortages and people moving. But I think people are demanding more from where they work for now, and culture is so important to them. And yeah, it isn't just all about now 15 minutes drive, I'll do a job and come home now. They want to add value. They want to enjoy the job. They want flexibility, which I think is great, in all honesty. So, I mean, I think it shouldn't be this thing where you work and you come home. Work-life balance is important, but it means kind of expressing the 2 completely different things. And I think if you can find somewhere that you are adding value, you're enjoying it, it doesn't become this wait until Friday thing, which actually I think... Right. There's almost a stigma behind most places, but probably going back 20 years ago, engineering, manufacturing, clock in, clock off, you know, all this sort of stuff. That nowadays it's starting to change, and you know, people are really starting to probably work longer hours and work harder, but maybe because they're finding more interesting careers that they're passionate about. But
I agree.
Look, I really enjoyed that, John. Really appreciate it, and I think loads of takeaways for people for this in terms of the importance of, I think maybe the importance of being very self-aware and continued personal progression and development, and just having that passion to want to come in and implement change. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed it.
No, and yourself, mate. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We've been trying to do this for like a few weeks now, I think, and it's been, you managed to tie us down a little bit. I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. I've been sitting here, my dog's been lying there, spread eagle at the background there, and he's been quiet, so he's been sound asleep. So
I'm listening down then, but yeah, good man.
Yeah.